So today we're going to discuss this topic on getting the eyes to see God. So this is in continuation with our Gita series. So in our Gita course, 4 days Gita in a nutshell, we discussed several topics. And some of the topics I'm going to take now and elaborate on them. Okay, because we just discussed in a nutshell. We didn't elaborate. So now we try to elaborate and see further in depth. Now, in one of the sessions, the last session particularly, we saw how uh, God exists, and there are many evidences. Biologically, also, you can prove that God exists. We discussed many things like whenever you see any artwork, it means there should be an artist. Whenever you see design, there should be a designer. Whenever you see energy, there should be an energetic person behind that. Whenever you see any laws working, so there should be a lawmaker behind that. So all these things we discussed in this. Now, that is, we have faith that God exists. Then how to see God? That's the next question, right? Seeing God, because seeing is believing. People think that seeing is believing. But actually, is seeing always believing? So we discussed about this also, that we don't see electrons, but we believe in electrons, isn't it? So electron exists. We can see the presence of the electron by its effect. Like the fan is moving, means electron is rotating the moving in that. And we also see light glowing, laptops working. It's all electronics. And because the electrons are working, because of that, there is adapters in there. Mhm. So when you see any electronic gadget working, it means there is electrons. So although we cannot see electrons, but the electron functions. So by its functions, we can understand the presence of an atom. Similarly, we can understand the presence of God by God's activities, by God's uh, energies. God has created this beautiful world. God has created humans. God has created all these planets. So many miracles God has created. Wonderful things God has created. So through this, we can understand the presence of God. But now, how to see God? That's the question. Okay, God exists. Can you show me God? And for that, also, we started discussing about. Um, Let me please tell me whether did we discuss this story, the story of 6 blind men? Did we discuss this? Say yes or no. No, right? Okay, we'll discuss this. So Kushal says no. So we'll discuss this story today. So there was a village. In that village, there were 6 blind men. So they're all blind people here. They're all blind. And they got a creature in their village. And all of them tried to find out what is this creature. And they tried to touch different parts of this elephant. And they tried to find out what is this. Somebody was touching the trunk and he thought it should be a snake. Somebody was touching the tusk and he thought it must be an arrow, sharp like an arrow. No, somebody thought it is like a fan. Somebody thought it is a here. We thought it is a brick wall. Somebody thought it is a tree trunk, and the back was holding the tail. He thought it is a rope. So all these people are coming to different conclusions. Now, can you tell me whether their conclusion is right or wrong? What do you think? Was their conclusion right or wrong? Okay, Vishal is saying wrong. What do others think? Others are silent. Okay, Kedar Deshmukh is saying it depends upon the perspective. Okay. Yes. So they are seeing the object in their own perspective. Hanumesh also says perspective, correct? So in their perspective, they are right. This fellow holding the trunk of the elephant, he has experience of snake. He has felt the snake. So he's having the same feeling when touching the trunk. It's soft. So he's thinking it's a snake. So all of them are perceiving this object according to their own previous experiences. But none of them is able to come to a right conclusion. How can these six blind men understand the conclusion? They come to the right conclusion. That is when a person who is intelligent, a person in knowledge who knows the element, he comes and says, then he will be able to understand, right? So when a person in knowledge tells these people, then these people will be able to understand what is this creature. It is an elephant. Similarly, people are trying to understand God from their own perspective. They have a previous experience of God. Somebody says God must be like Atlas. He is holding the whole world in his shoulders. So God will be like Atlas. Somebody thinks God is having no form. He is formless. Somebody imagines God is like a human. They worship. Some people worship humans as God. So human God. According to their own perception, they are creating gods. They are imposing their material experiences and faith on God. And they think God should be like this, as I think. Why not we try to understand God as He is, rather than as I think? Right? Because my thinking and my perspective may be wrong, because our thinking capacity is limited, our mental capacities are limited, they're not complete. So instead of understanding God as I think, let's try to understand God as He is. And how to understand God as He is? By understanding from God, by hearing from God, then we can understand about Him. Right? So those who try to understand God by their own mental speculation, they cannot come to the right conclusion. They'll always be defect in their understanding. But those who accept God's authority and try to understand as He speaks to us, they'll be able to come to the right conclusion. Right? So we discussed about Pratyaksha Praman in brief last time. Yes, we cannot see God because we have imperfect senses. We discussed that. Next 5 minutes will be just a revision, because I won't explain much further into this topic, but 5 minutes revision of that Pratyaksha Praman. And I'll discuss more about Anuman Praman today. In Pratyaksha Praman, people are seeing things, right? Seeing is not always believing. This appears to be bent, but actually it's not bent. Right? We also have 4 defects: imperfect senses, we have tendency to be illusioned, and we commit mistakes and cheating propensity. Right? These are the 4 tendencies we have. Our eyesight is limited. We see only between red to violet. Our hearing capacity is limited. Right? Between 20 to 20 kilohertz. That's what we hear. Right? Hearing and seeing capacities are limited. Right? And even if you advance instrument, still we have to read through our senses. So the knowledge is still imperfect. Sense of skin can get illusioned. Right? Then we saw different photographs where different people had different perspective of the photo. They could not see the actual photo, but they saw different perspectives of the photo. And we saw this also, how optical illusions. So seeing is not believing. We get illusion. Things which are not moving appear to be moving. Right? The circles appear to be moving, but actually they are stationary. We saw this. There appears to be a bridge here, but there is no bridge. It is just a row of ships and the clouds, which gives the feeling of a bridge. And then pituitary gland and brain we discussed last time. Yeah, I want to discuss more about this Darwin's theory. Okay. So Darwin, he concluded that without speculation, I'm a firm believer that without speculation, there is no good and original observation. After 5 years' work, I allowed myself to speculate on the subject and drew up some short notes. These I analyzed in 1844 into a sketch of conclusions which seem to me probable. Okay. Now here, can somebody read this quotation? You can unmute and read this quotation. I have allowed you to unmute. Yeah. Any volunteer? Yes, Kushal. Can you please read?
In North America, the black bear was seen swimming for hours, with wide open mouth, thus catching like a whale insects in water. Even in so extreme a case as this, if the supply of insects were constant and if better adapted competitors did not already exist in the country, I can see no difficulty in the race of bears by natural selection, more and more aquatic in their structure and habit, with larger and larger mouths till a creature was produced as monstrous as a whale, origin of species.
In page 184 of 1964 edition, Darwin proposes this theory that the polar bear, if it continued swimming in the ocean waters and kept eating fishes at a constant rate, there is no doubt that this polar bear will transform into a whale. This is his conclusion. Do you think it's ever possible? Have you ever seen such a transformation happening that a polar bear becomes a whale? No, we have not seen. Have you ever seen one species changing into another species? Is there any evidence that a cat becomes a lion or a tiger? Have you seen any one species like aquatic becoming a bird in your lifetime? No, right? So, this change of species Darwin proposed, but there is no concrete evidence for this. So Darwin also wrote that in future, archaeologists should dig and then discover more and more uh, proofs to prove this theory. If one cannot find proof, then he said that you can reject my theory. That's what Darwin has said. But people, some scientists, when they heard Darwin's theory, this group of scientists, they felt very much attracted. Oh, this is a wonderful theory. We can explain the phenomena of this world without bringing God into picture. Right? This is a theory which gives some scientists a license to keep God out of picture and explain everything without God. So those group of scientists, atheistic scientists, they started accepting this theory and they started propagating this theory very widely. So in this way, Darwin's theory became accepted by some very influential scientists in this world. Although there was no proofs, this group of scientists they accepted it and they propagated it and they gave Nobel Prize to Darwin's those who did more and more discoveries in Darwin's theory. So in this way, it became widely accepted. It came in the textbooks, and it was going on and on. But uh, no proofs were found out. In fact, contradictory proofs were found out. Means, see this. When you dig into the Earth crust, when you go more and more deeper, in the top you should find only humans. According to the Darwin theory, you should find only humans on top. When you go more and more deeper, you should find connecting links, like a 80% human, 20% monkey, 50% human, 50% monkey, then less of human, more of monkey, then only monkeys. Because that's what Darwin said. In the beginning, there were only monkeys, and from monkeys came humans. If Darwin's theory is true, then when you go to the lower strata of the Earth crust, you should find only monkeys. But the evidence shows that monkeys and humans coexisted. The fossils of monkeys and humans were found uh, back as 2 million years ago. Okay, so the Earth strata 2 million years ago still had monkeys and humans together. Means humans are not recent. Humans are existing since the time the monkeys existed. Means humans and the monkeys coexisted. All the species coexisted since the time. Now, after hearing this evidence, now people really start doubting Darwin's theory. Whether is it really true? It is advocated intelligent design. That whole world is created by intelligent designer. It is not a product of chance, but everything is created by design. So who is the designer? Is God. So that's what they came to conclusion. For example, when the knowledge of science exploded, especially with the invention of electron microscope, from that time onwards, the knowledge of the cell has got exploded. Initially, the cell was thought to be like a small protoplast and cytoplast. The cytoplast covered by protoplast. That's all. It was simple. But when the knowledge of cell exploded by the electron microscope, the scientists found out that the cell is not simple. Life at the bottom is not simple. It is complex, more complex. Because Darwin proposed that initially there was a prebiotic soup and some of the atoms and molecules came together and formed amino acids. Amino acids combine together to form proteins, and proteins combine together to form first unicellular cell. The unicellular cells combine together to form multicellular cells, beings, and these multicellular beings evolved and evolved further and further and further until the human beings, the most advanced species, was found. This is what Darwin's theory. So Darwin thought that the first cell of the prebiotic soup was very simple. But when knowledge of cell exploded, it really bewildered the scientists. Let's see this video. Molecular machines, that's the topic. Molecular machine.
Natural selection acts only by taking advantage of slight successive variations. She can never take a great and sudden leap, but must advance by short and sure, though slow steps.
I'm a scientist, a biochemist, and biochemistry studies how life works at the level of molecules and also how life came to be the way it is. The standard answer for years has been that, well, we sort of evolved gradually by natural selection, but there are large problems with that.
Since 1988, Dr. Michael B. has investigated complex biological systems that seem to defy explanation by natural selection.
For the longest time, I believed that Darwinian evolution explained what we saw in biology, not because I saw how it could actually explain it, but because I was told that it did explain it. And in schools, I was taught Darwinian biology. And through college and graduate school, I was in an atmosphere which just assumed that Darwinian evolution explained biology. And again, I didn't have any reason to doubt it. It wasn't until about 10 years or more ago that I read a book called Evolution: A Theory in Crisis by a geneticist by the name of Michael Denton, an Australian. And he put forward a lot of scientific arguments against Darwinian theory that I had never heard before. And the arguments seemed pretty convincing. And at that point, I
So he started questioning Darwinian theory. And the main point is when the knowledge of the cell exploded, you see here,
piece of jello or something that was not hard to explain at all.
initially the cell was thought to be
This
like this.
perception didn't really change too much until the early 1950s. But in the last half century, our knowledge of the cell has just exploded.
This is a cell.
Today, powerful technologies reveal elaborate microscopic worlds. Worlds so small that a thimbleful of cultured liquid can contain more than 4 billion single-cell bacteria, each packed with circuits, assembly instructions, and miniature machines, the complexity of which Charles Darwin could never have imagined.
At the very basis of life, where molecules and cells run the show, we've discovered machines, literally molecular machines. There are little molecular trucks that carry supplies from one end of the cell to the other. There are machines which capture the energy from sunlight and turn it into usable energy.
There are as many molecular machines in the human body as there are functions that the body has to do. So if you think about hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, feeling, blood clotting, respiratory action, the immune response, all of those require a host of machines.
When we look at these machines, we ask ourselves, where do they come from? And the standard answer, Darwinian evolution, is very inadequate in my view.
Many of Behe's doubts were tied to a remarkable biological motor.
I remember the first time I looked in a biochemistry textbook and I saw a drawing of something called the bacterial flagellum with all of its parts in all of its glory. It had a propeller and the hook region and the drive shaft and the motor and so on. I looked at that and I said, that's an outboard motor. That's designed. You know, that's no chance assemblage of parts.
Behe's reaction was not surprising. For the molecular motors that drive bacteria through liquid each depend upon a system of intricately arranged mechanical parts. These parts come into focus when portions of a cell are magnified 50,000 times. Biochemists have used electron micrographs like this one to identify the parts and three-dimensional structure of the flagellar motor.
This is the machine, molecular flagella.
In the process, they have revealed a marvel of engineering on a miniaturized scale.
Howard Berg at Harvard has labeled it the most efficient machine in the universe. These machines, some of them are running at 100,000 RPMs and are hardwired into a signal transduction or sensory mechanism so that it's getting feedback from the environment.
And even though they're spinning that fast, they can stop on a dime. It only takes a quarter turn for them to stop and shift directions and start spinning 100,000 RPM in the other direction.
And just like outboard motors on motorboats, it has a large number of parts which are necessary for the motor to work.
The bacterial flagellum, 2 gears, forward and reverse, water-cooled, proton motive force. It has a stator, it has a rotor, it has a U-joint, it has a drive shaft, it has a propeller, and they function as these parts of machines. It's, you know, it's not convenient that we give them these names. That's truly their function.
Since its discovery, scientists have tried to understand how a rotary motor could have arisen through natural selection. As yet, they have failed to offer any detailed Darwinian explanation.
And I can share this video with you later. So basically, Darwin fails to explain this flagellas, bacterial flagellas, how they're working so systematically. It is not by chance. This cannot be by chance. There's a matter of creation. It's created. It's not a product of chance, right? So this is what this scientist understood. So there's a group of scientists who proposed Darwin theory, and there is others who are supporting creation. Now that group which is supporting Darwin theory and propagating Darwin theory, they don't understand the consequences of Darwin theory. People who accepted Darwin theory created a lot of violence in the past. Hitler was one of the followers of Darwin. He accepted the philosophy of Darwin, and Hitler decided who is fit to survive, survival of the fittest. So Hitler felt that Nazis are fit to survive, and the Jews, they are unfit to survive. So let's select who will survive and who will die. In fact, Hitler did a survey of the entire population in Germany and Europe, and everybody was called for medical examination. I have video of historical consequences of Darwinism, where I saw that, and they said that how Hitler is in the hospitals. He told the doctors, anybody is physically unfit, having some disabilities, put them in the chamber. So, and anybody old, above 60 years, put them in the chambers. So in this, he sorted out young population, healthy population. He said, okay, you're fit, you should work. And old population, disabled population, he took them aside and he killed them. He told that he'll put in chambers, they should be admitted, but eventually he killed them. So that's what happened. So Hitler started deciding who is going to surrender, who is going to be killed. So this is the consequence of Darwin's theory. Big massacre, Holocaust, which happened in Germany in the beginning of the 1990s. Then later on, some others also accepted, and then it was very detrimental for the society. Then the intelligent design people, they started explaining, see how this, actually after Darwinism, neo-Darwinism came, when this concept of DNA, RNA came into existence. At the time, people started explaining, okay, the life is caused because of DNA and RNA. They reproduce, they multiply, and then different species are formed. So one species can change into another species by gradual mutations. Okay, but then also that is questionable. Even if you explain that the change of species happens through mutations, even after mutation, we see one species, a dog becomes another dog, dog will not become a cat. By mutation of a sheep, it can become another sheep, but it cannot become a cow or a bull or a buffalo. That's not possible. So people have tried to do mutations, but it's produced the same species. If you mutate the human gene, it produces another human who is having little different features. That's all. Mutations can do that, but it cannot produce a new species. So still it contradicts. Neo-Darwinism also cannot explain the transformation of one species into another species. So in this way, this Darwin's theory eventually was rejected, and followers of Darwin, they tried to present many evidences for fossils, but they were also rejected as I'll show another video of that. Right? That was also rejected because there is no evidence for that. Right? Forgery of evidences. Content session 3. We are not finding that here today. This was the Anuman Praman, where Darwin tried to do Anuman and tried to come to conclusion of evolution, but that was proven to be false. One may think, okay, what is the problem? Chota mistake ho gaya. What is the big deal? Oh, small mistakes, but heavy consequences. For example, nowadays we drink water in Bisleri bottle. It's very, very easy, right? Just carry a bottle of plastic bottle, lightweight, and drink it. But water stored in Bisleri bottle for 6 months becomes poisonous and can cause death to one who drinks it. Right? In fact, we are taking microplastics. Every day we are taking microplastics in small quantities. Right? We are eating every day, almost every week, we are almost eating plastic worth a ATM card. Right? So very dangerous it is. So you have to be careful. Like we carry food in plastic, we eat in plastic plates. Sometimes cooking also is done in plastic, like microwave ovens. Sometimes we use plastic, or we use non-stick. What is non-stick? It's nothing but a coating of fiber on it, so the non-sticky material. So that also enters the food. So very unhealthy. So we're eating plastic every day and very dangerous for our health. We build mobiles. Mobiles have inbuilt radioactive element which is hazardous to health. And if you talk too much by keeping it near your head or the ears, one may get headache. It damages the brain. Heart problems if you keep in the shirt pocket. Impotence if you keep it in the pant pocket. Because men, if you keep it near your thighs, then the sperm count reduces. Nowadays you will see people are having difficulty producing child. People get married, but after marriage, another challenge is child. Child is not coming. Why? Because impotency, because of too much radiation. Right. Phone call sound can't be heard if kept in a jeans pocket below knees. Yeah. There's another mistake which happened. There is a bubonic plague. Researchers claimed that the cats were the cause of plague. So they killed all cats and then realized that rats were the real cause. It was too late. So they killed all the cats, but rats were the cause. So now how to catch the rats without the cats? Now plague was spreading very fast. Now here's a question for you. Can you cite some examples to show how a modern man by scientific research came with many artificial comforts and luxuries to increase happiness, but these inventions are creating new problems? Can you give an example? Man invented something. One example was mobile. Can you think of any other examples where man created something, but later on it became hazardous, dangerous for himself? Like in the Western world, there is a story of Frankenstein. It is a novel written by one person. In the novel, there is a story that a scientist made a robot called Frankenstein. Robot means he brought a dead body, and in dead body only he brought life. And that's called Frankenstein. And then Frankenstein killed the scientist only. So the invention kills the scientist only. So man created something, and man is suffering because of that creation. Can you give some examples for this? Okay, wonderful. Nuclear energy. Nuclear energy was, Brijesh is telling, very nice point. Nuclear energy was originally created with the intention of producing energy, electricity. But somehow it fell in the hands of defense. And defense people made the bomb, and they wanted to try out. And they tried in Japan. This big massacre. 1945, the first nuclear bomb was dropped there. 2 bombs were dropped. It huge damage it caused. After that, nuclear war has not happened. And now the technology has advanced. And I don't know what will happen if next war is nuclear war. It will be very dangerous. Ajay Biradar is studying artificial intelligence. Okay, Ajay, would you like to explain how artificial intelligence is troubling man? Man created artificial intelligence. Would you like to explain how that is? You can unmute as well. You can unmute and speak. How it is causing trouble to man? Ajay is there? Okay, Brijesh is telling World War IV will be stones and sticks.
Sir, there are
Yes,
Prabhuji,
Ajay?
there are a lot of people they are getting fired due to AI because AI can do work faster than human beings.
Yeah, people are losing jobs, you're telling, right?
Yeah,
Artificial intelligence is taking away jobs because that is replacing many jobs. Yeah, so that is a problem.
Yeah.
There is no jobs, and what the youth will do, and they will take to some other means of livelihood or shortcuts or illegal means of livelihood. Right, so that becomes a problem. So people should have jobs. Lokesh is telling hybrid. Okay, hybrid. You think hybrid vegetables are talking about hybrid vegetables and food? Yes, Lokesh. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Lokesh is hybrid vegetables. That's right. So what is the problem with hybrid vegetables? Hybrid vegetables means they are genetically mutated. What is wrong in eating hybrid? It's very nice to look, huh? Like hybrid apples, very shining, and hybrid vegetables, very long and thick and big. Right? What is the problem with it? It's good only, right?
Guruji, it is like slow poison, Guruji. Means now hybrid means it is not crossing between uh, two breeds, Guruji. Crossing the two DNA is that is very dangerous, Guruji. It will not. ಇವಾಗಲೇ ತೋರ್ಸಲ್ಲ ಗುರುಜಿ ಅದೇನು
ಆಮೇಲೆ ತೋರಿಸುತ್ತೆ.
ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಮುಂದೆ ಮುಂದೆ ತುಂಬಾ ಇದಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ.
Correct. So grafting is okay. Grafting is you're not changing the DNA. When you graft two flowers, you get a better flower. That is okay. But DNA changing, and that is very, because body cannot recognize it as food. If one eats too much of the genetically modified food, one cannot body cannot accept it. That causes cancer. So that's why genetically modified food should be avoided as much as possible. So that's why people should take up the organic farming. Take the original seeds, original items, and then grow them. That's best actually. Genetic engineering is also very dangerous. That's changing species. Right? Kushal is telling invasive species. What is this invasive species?
Prabhuji, like whenever usually people take, they see some of the species of plant, fish, or any place in any species from a different country, they take it and put it into their ecosystem from different countries. But these extra plants or fish which are brought from different countries, they will overpopulate and start killing the local species present over there, that can lead to extinction.
Yeah, like they brought this Jersey cow from America, right?
Yes.
Big cows,
So
Holstein, big cows.
Yes,
Now you see many Jersey cows in India. Desi cows are missing, right? Indian cows, and it is said that Indian cow milk is much healthier than the Western cow milk. So Indian cow is called as A2 milk, and Western cow milk is called A1 milk. But A2 milk is better than A1 milk. But unfortunately nowadays we can't get A2 milk. So this is a problem with mutations and invasive species. Okay. British still liquor invented for medical purposes and shisha presently used for getting dopamine. Okay. So liquor also, alcohol. There is medical alcohol and there's drinking alcohol. Some people drink alcohol and get intoxicated. Drugs, yeah, drugs. Nowadays, too much of drugs peddling is happening. So it was already there in some leaves and all, but now they are growing it more and more. Right? Bhang, hashish, marijuana. They're growing it and selling it. It's illegal, but still there's somehow smuggling it and giving it to the students. So these are the problems. Yeah. And the problem is vehicles. So vehicles are also creating a lot of pollution and road blockage and everything. So people are not thinking going electric. But electric also has another problem: how to dispose of batteries. So another problem. So I think you should go back to bullock carts and slow down the life. Slow down the life. Don't travel fast. And another thing of going fast is accidents, big accidents. And I'm in Balasore here in Odisha. So while coming, I just saw this big bogies, many bogies derailed, falling. The danger of speed, high speed, when big accidents. Yeah. Ajay Biradar says plastic use, yeah, plastic also dangerous. We should eat in metal plates, preferably bronze plates, more healthier, that's healthier. We should cook in steel, reduce aluminium. Yeah, slow and steady wins the race, but yeah. So these four defects, you see here, oh, there is a video, funny video it is. Boy looking like a girl. Yeah, video is here. So it is not embedded in the PPT. The tendency to get illusion. See how it is. The man is running behind this woman. So this person got illusioned, thinking that it is a woman. Right? So in this way, science also keeps us in illusion. I found the video of Darwin now. The forgery of evidences.
Evolutionists go so far in this subject that they can even invent very different faces for the same skull. The three entirely different reconstructions made for the fossil called Zinjanthropus is a famous example showing how persistent evolutionists are in producing these false masks. Another intermediate transitional form fabricated by evolutionists was the Nebraska Man. This was cooked up in 1922 on the basis of a single fossil tooth. The evolutionists did not neglect to give it an ostentatious Latin name, Hesperopithecus haroldcooki, or to make imaginary drawings related to it. It was soon revealed that the tooth that had been the source of inspiration for Nebraska Man in fact belonged to a wild pig.
Tooth of a pig.
Many other fossil skulls have been presented as great evidence for evolution failed one by one. Neanderthal Man was advanced as evidence in 1856, dismissed in 1960. Piltdown Man was advanced as evidence in 1912, dismissed in 1953. Zinjanthropus was advanced as evidence in 1959, dismissed in 1960. Ramapithecus was advanced as evidence in 1964, dismissed in 1979.
So this is how we understand that Darwin theory is trying to mislead people by presenting some evidences. So pratyaksha pramana, the seeing is not always true. Like you saw that boy misunderstanding other person to be a girl. So seeing is not always believing. And even our speculation is also not perfect. So the only way by which we can get perfect knowledge is by hearing from authority. So see this video. Very, very funny. But very nice lesson it has got. But I'll shoot again. He's afraid now. The unfortunate fellow, he was trying to experiment. What is this button? What is this button? What is this button? But he could not know how to use it. But he should have read a manual. Along with that item, instrument comes the manual. Reading the manual, you can understand how to use that instrument. So this person felt he got into trouble because of not using this manual. Similarly, for human life, Krishna has given the manual, and that is Bhagavad Gita. When you read Bhagavad Gita, through Bhagavad Gita, you can understand God. Bhagavad Gita is the eye through which you can see God. You should have transcendentalized. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya Chakshuhu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. We all have eyes, but you have materialized. With these eyes made of skin, muscles, we cannot see God. We cannot even see electron. We cannot even see bacteria. How to think of seeing God, who is beyond matter? In order to see God, we should have the transcendental eyes, spiritual eyes. Then we can see. When the eyes are filled with love for God, then you can see God. If you don't have love for God, then you cannot see God. And how to develop that love? That is bhakti. When you develop bhakti, when you do the activities of bhakti, devotion, then you will be able to understand God. You have to see, you can see God. So by reading Bhagavad Gita with devotion, one can get the eyes, transcendental eyes, to see God. So that's why we started this reading session. Yashwant Prabhu is taking a reading session Bhagavad Gita every evening, 8:30 to 9 p.m. I heard some of you are joining, 14 of you are joining and trying reading Bhagavad Gita every day and chanting. It's very good. Please continue this. By reading this Bhagavad Gita, that is the eye through which you can see God. Otherwise, it's not possible. And this knowledge is coming down in Parampara. So one is reading Bhagavad Gita, another is chanting Hare Krishna. So chanting also has got great power. I'm showing a video on mantra power. See what is the power of mantras.
The Vedas, however, are not as well known for presenting historical and recognize the power of sound itself by its effects, which can be quite dramatic. Here, a high-pitched frequency shatters a drinking glass. So, we can easily understand that loud sounds can produce substantial reactions. It is commonly believed that mantras can carry hidden power, which can in turn produce profound effects. The ancient Vedic literatures are full of descriptions of weapons being called by mantra. For example, many weapons were invoked by mantra during the epic Kurukshetra war, wherein the Bhagavad Gita itself was spoken. The ancient deployment of Brahmastra weapons, equivalent to modern-day nuclear weapons, are described throughout the Vedic literatures. Additionally, mantras carry hidden spiritual power which can produce significant benefits when chanted properly. Indeed, the Vedas themselves are sound vibrations in literary form and carry a profound message.
Even the vibration of Bhagavad Gita itself is very powerful. Even if you don't understand the shlokas, just repeating it again and again can have positive effect. Just repeat it. So that's the power of mantras. A mantra can break the glass. Mantra, like today we are coming in car and marriage procession is going on. They put such huge DJ, boom, 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 boom. And whole car was vibrating. The glass of the car windows are vibrating. So huge sound. Sound has that power. It can shake people. And spiritual sound, it can awaken people. It can uplift the people. So spiritual sound is also very powerful. So we should, if possible, we can all recite Bhagavad Gita. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yutsavaha mamakaha pandavaschaiva kimakurvata sanjaya. Like this, you keep reciting Bhagavad Gita, hearing Bhagavad Gita. Even if you have difficulty reciting, you can hear. When you keep hearing, you can recite. So that was very powerful. So keep reciting, keep hearing Bhagavad Gita, also chanting Hare Krishna. So when you do this, you will get the eyes, transcendental eyes to see God. So because Bhagavad Gita and the mantras are the way to see God. In Vedanta Sutra, there is another mantra called Anavrittihi Shabdaha. Anavritti means uncovering. God becomes uncovered by chanting, by the sound, by the name of the God, God becomes uncovered. You can see directly God. So that's possible. You have to repeatedly chant, not just once. Repeatedly, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So repeatedly chanting the mantras again and again and again, the awakening happens. Slowly, slowly the awakening happens. So that's the power of mantra. Okay, so I will stop here for today. And I see some 2 questions here. Please let me know, can I feel the presence of God always? Because I feel something, the presence of presence, sometimes there is nothing. Yeah. Sometimes you feel, sometimes you don't. Yeah, it may happen in the initial stages. Sometimes God helps you and be grateful to God and think of God. And sometimes you may not feel the presence of God. But God is always there. Whether you're feeling the presence of God or you're not feeling the presence of God, God is always there with you. Sometimes we forget, but sometimes we remember. So whether it doesn't matter whether we feel His presence or not, but am I serving God? Or do I have faith in God? That is most important. So God is always there with you. That is sure. He is always there in the heart, in your heart. Sarva yonishu kaunteya. He says, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe arjuna tishtadi. In Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter, Krishna says that hriddeshe, in the region of the heart, I am present in every person. In every person, I am present in the region of the heart. Hriddeshe arjuna tishtadi. Brahmayan sarva bhutani yantrarudhani maya. And I'm wandering. And the jiva is wandering in different living entities, species, but God follows in all the species. So God is there. Sometimes you may feel His presence when you're very prayerful. You may feel, or when in difficulty, you may feel His presence. But nevertheless, God is always there with you. Have faith in that. What does mean Swadharma? Hanumesh is asking. Swadharma actually means your dharma. Right? Swadharma means Swa means yours, mine, dharma, duties. So my duties to be done. That's what Swadharma. I think last time I had explained this about whatever. There is constitutional dharma and there is conditional dharma. Right? constitutional duties and conditional duties. Let me write it here. So there is conditional duties and there is constitutional duties. Constitutional duty means to serve God. That is constitutional duty. And conditional duty means doing material activities, material duties. And so somebody is a student, he is studying. That is Swadharma. Right? For a student, Swadharma is to study. For a parent, Swadharma is to take care of family. Different duties. This is called Swadharma. Conditional duties. And to serve God is called Parodharma. Parodharma and there is Swadharma. Understanding? Swadharma also for every Varna, there are different Swadharmas like Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And different duties for each one of them. So that is explained in Bhagavad Gita 18th chapter. So to do those activities, that's called Swadharma, or is also called Varnashrama Dharma. Okay. So these are the two words in Bhagavad Gita, Swadharma or Varnashrama Dharma. Okay, I hope that answers your question, Manish. How can I always sense God? Because I only sense sometimes. You can chant Hare with Lord, and every time we can feel His sensing. Sensing. Sense, like feeling God. There's no difference. Both are same. Presence of God. Krishna, because it's a very high topic. In the initial sessions, we discussed more on soul, Krishna being the Supreme Lord, Krishna's creation, the super excellence of this material creation, Krishna's avatars. And then at one point we discussed about Radha and Krishna also, because that's the ultimate topmost topic, which is most misunderstood. It is the topmost topic, but most misunderstood. So we will take it in the future. Recently, somebody was asking about Radha Krishna Lila in one of the sessions, which I did a program in BNMLT college 2 days back. There, after the session, one madam came and asked Radha and Krishna first time. So there I told a little bit to her. And then I told that we don't generally discuss it in the early sessions because it's quite elevated topic. People think it's boy-girl relationship, but actually it's supreme. It's Supreme Lord and His energy. Radha is energy of Krishna and Krishna is God. So Radha and Krishna are energy and energetic. So it is a pastime between them. When they do some activities, that's called Leela. So that appears like ordinary boy-girl relationship, but that is not. That is pure spiritual relationship. So we'll discuss it sometime later. So Swadharma question I already answered. Kushal is asking, Prabhuji, how long did it take you to learn Bhagavad Gita completely? I'm still learning. I have not completely learned. I have read it several times. I have attended courses from my gurus. And Bhagavad Gita is such a book that learning never ends. We continue learning. Of course, in one sense, yes, I have completed learning Bhagavad Gita. I have read all the shlokas of Bhagavad Gita. I have studied every shloka detail. And there are courses in ISKCON called Bhakti Shastri course where we study every verse of Gita and the Acharya's commentaries also. We study Baldev Vidya Bhushan. And we also study Vishnu Chakra Thakur commentaries, self-study. But we get a lot of deep insight into Bhagavad Gita. But we can never say that I have completed Bhagavad Gita study. Never. It is always expanding and your knowledge goes more and more deeper. Okay. So every time you read, it goes more and more deeper. And whenever I teach also, my knowledge becomes more deeper. I understand more better than what was my understanding before. Your knowledge of Bhagavad Gita always. If sometimes you might have known subject, like you have read something, but you have not realized it. By practicing Bhagavad Gita, you realize it. So in that sense, Krishyami cha muhurmuhom, you want to read it again and again and again. So that's the feeling. When you get the feeling that I want to read it again and again and again, that means you are understanding Gita. So if somebody thinks, okay, I completed Gita, okay, I'll never read it again. No, that means you are not read Gita. You are not understood Gita. You have to read it again and again and again. Okay, Kushal. Ajay Biradar is asking, could you please explain Tulsi Mala rules and benefits? Okay. So Tulsi Mala's benefits are, by wearing Tulsi Mala, one can remember Krishna. Tulsi is very dear to Krishna, so when Tulsi touches our body, those who wear Tulsi Mala, they can never go to Yamaloka. Yamadutas never come to him. So that is benefit of Tulsi Mala. It reminds us of Krishna. It helps in our spiritual advancement, and Yamadutas do not touch those who are wearing Tulsi Mala. But there are rules also for wearing Tulsi Mala. The rules are that one should be following the 4 regulative principles: no meat, no illicit sex, no intoxication, no gambling. Right? One should also stop eating onion and garlic. Right? So then a person can wear this Tulsi Mala on his neck. Right? So if an impure person wears it, then it commits offense. And I have seen some people who wear Tulsi Mala and for eating meat, they remove Tulsi Mala, they eat meat, take bath, and then again wear Tulsi Mala. I have seen some Brahmanas who wear the sacred thread. For eating meat, they remove, they eat, they take bath, and again wear it. That is nonsense. One should not do like that. One should follow strictly. Throughout my life, I'll follow it. So that determination, when it comes, then one should wear Tulsi Mala. Okay? Okay. So all the questions in the chat are over. Anybody else has any question? Please explain difference between seeing the light and sensing the heat of light. Similar. I didn't understand your question. Brajesh, can you please explain? How is it connected to this topic today? Brajesh Raj. So in material, yeah, so reading Bhagavad Gita and sensing the presence of God, it's possible. Because Bhagavad Gita itself is word of God. See, in spiritual life, name of God, the form of God, the qualities of God, and the activities of God are all same. Chanting Hare Krishna, this mantra is God. But when you say water, water is not actually, it's different. The name water and the substance water are different. But in case of spiritual sound, the word Krishna is not different than Krishna. So Krishna's name has got Krishna's form, Krishna's activities, Krishna's pastimes, everything is there in the name. So when you're reading, when you're chanting Hare Krishna, it is not different than being in touch with Krishna. We may not realize it, but it is true. Krishna's name and Krishna are not different. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita and Krishna are not different because Bhagavad Gita is the word of God. There is no difference between God and word of God. Word of God is Bhagavad Gita and Krishna is God. So Krishna and Bhagavad Gita are not different. That faith we should have. So when you're reading Gita, you're in touch with Krishna. Krishna is speaking to you through Bhagavad Gita. So this feeling will come when you practice, when you keep more and more contact with Bhagavad Gita, with Hare Krishna mantra, you'll be able to understand this. There's no difference between chanting Hare Krishna and seeing Krishna. There's no difference between reading Bhagavad Gita and feeling Krishna. Both are same. So this is the truth. Now we have to practice it to come to that stage. Okay. Kushal is telling Guruji, is the rules of Tulsi Mala and Rudraksh Mala same or different? Yeah, generally, Rudraksh also, those who wear should follow these rules. I have seen some people wearing Rudraksh and smoking. That's not allowed. One should not do that. One should follow purely. Right. So I've seen some people taking bhang and drugs also. They give the reason Shiva also wears it and Shiva drinks. Shiva can do anything, but can you imitate Shiva? Shiva can drink poison. Right? Can you drink poison? Generally, I say, okay, you drink poison first, and if you are alive, then you can take bhang. Right? Shiva drank poison. He can digest anything. But ordinary people can't. Great people can do great things. But ordinary people should not imitate great people. They should get inspired by great people, but it's not imitate. Even for wearing Rudraksh also, one should follow rules and regulations. Pavitra is asking, does soul enter new body as soon as it quits the old one? There is some time gap between dying and being reborn. It may take some time. It may take several years also. It depends upon what kind of karma the soul has done. So sometimes it may be born in 2 years, or sometimes even after 50 years also it can be born. So it is possible. It depends upon the individual's karma. The Yamaraj may hold him for certain years, depending upon what his karma is. And when suitable time comes, then he'll drop in to a particular body. So there is time gap. I showed you the story of Pilate. He died in 1945 in Second World War, but he was reborn somewhere in 1980s. So there is almost a gap of maybe 40 years. So that gap is there sometimes. Sometimes it is short, sometimes it is more. Okay. Any other question? Okay, so no questions, then we'll end here. So we'll meet again next week. I'll tell you the next week's timing. Next Sunday, I have another program. Those who are staying in Bangalore, if you wish to attend next weekend, there's a program we're starting in Global Village. Those who are staying in Kengeri or RR Nagar, Uttaradi, you can come physically. So I'll be taking a program Global Village. Nearby, we are starting a center there. So in the back gate of Global Village, there's a program. So Yashwant will send you details. Okay, and yeah, we'll send you the location. And some people, they message me saying they went to ISKCON temple, they could not find me. I stay in Kumaraswamy Layout. So that address also Yashwantpur will share, that location. I'll be out of station till 15th. I'll be in Bengal, Mayapur. So 15th night I'm returning. So 16th I'll be available. So those who wish to come, we can come on 16th. Okay.
Okay, Prabhuji. I will share all the location details and Global Village program details with them. Okay. Thank you, Prabhuji. Let us thank Prabhuji in his very busy schedule traveling Orissa, Bengal. But still, Proji took time for us to give knowledge about Gita. So let us thank Proji from core of our heart. Thank you so much, Proji.
Thank you.